welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
And I'm Jeff. And we're the fucking Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners, here to recap episode 10, the season 1 finale of House of the Dragon.
Yep.
Nelly, what's up, my boy?
Not much. I liked it. I messed up. Sorry to all the fans who were expecting it yesterday. I know we've been late on the podcast few weeks now.
That's weeks on me. In a row.
The L's on me this time. Jeff was at a football game last week.
1's on the Birds, 2's on Nelson.
Nelson napping. Yep. I napped into a little bit too late. But we're here today. Day late. Not that bad. What do you think, Jeff, as a non-book reader? Again, just recap for everybody. Jeff has not read Fire and Blood. I have. So Jeff's kind of going into this thing blind. I am not.
I liked it. The episode was jam-packed. I do feel as though the ending was underwhelming.
I mean, I guess we'll get a little more into it, but the ending was a pretty epic scene.
Yeah. I'm more or less the Rhaenyra turn. All right, let me change my words. The ending, it was over too soon. I wanted more. I wanted to see Jace up in the north. I thought I saw that we were actually going to see that. Someone was like, "Oh, well, we'll get to see the north," and I think it was just the Baratheon. So I thought there was more to the episode than Storm's End. Storm's End part was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
The fight in the sky, I think, was realistic to how it should have gone.
Yeah, so that part of the fight in the sky was in like the trailer for the next after episode 9 and like next week's episode. You know what I mean? Like that little trailer thing, which sure. I watched last week because I like kind of wanted to see where they would end it. And I saw that there was the fight, and I was afraid it was going to be too dark. But I didn't have that problem, at least for that scene. Like, some scenes were too dark in the earlier episodes, and I was afraid that because it was going to be in the storm and the clouds, it would be hard to see shit. But there was some dope shots in that. Like, I didn't think there was they used the lightning well, too, to, like, light the flash every once in a while.
There's a couple of shots that it was pretty obvious. Like, I mean, it's hard to... Especially when the whole episode drops, right? The whole episode, I believe, leaked on Thursday or Wednesday.
Yeah, I saw news of it, I think, Saturday morning or Friday morning that it had leaked.
So I had obviously seen a couple pictures, so I knew Aemon was going to be somewhere. I didn't know if it was Storm's End or not, but I knew Luke and Aemon were going to be face-to-face to each other. I saw what looked like 2 dragons in the air. Couldn't make out which 2 dragons it was.
Yep.
So I was still able to kind of be like, oh, what's going to happen? And I enjoyed that we spent all of the time with no greens this time. Like, we kind of, minus Aemon, like it was all about Rhaenyra and her side.
Yeah, exactly. Like the opposite of last week.
Right. Which made sense to how they kind of did it. Like, especially when you think about it from the book's point of view, I'm sure you've got the case from the King's Landing, Maesters, and whoever was kind of the witness, and then you got the green or the black side of it too.
Yeah, but the reason it kind of makes sense here is also because, like, in the books, I think they wait like longer. Like, they wait till people find out about Viserys' death because it starts stinking up the Red Keep. Like, they keep it hush hush for like 4 or 5 days.
Well, that makes sense. I'm sure it took more than
Otto's just like,
day.
don't tell anybody. Like, the more time we have, the more like shit we can set up. So it makes sense that the greens are actually making all these plays and the blacks are over on Dragonstone like la-di-da, they don't even know. And then like the blacks make all their plays after the greens have made their, which is why like Aemon is at Storm's End first. Right.
So let's just jump into the show, and I think we can continue like what happens in the book versus what happened here.
Sure.
Because the first scene is with Luke at the Dragonstone table, which a lot of cool scenes around the Dragonstone table. Yeah. One, the table itself, I don't think we've ever seen it lit up like that. That shit was awesome.
Yeah, it was so sick. I'm wondering like if that's dangerous because like that table's got to be pretty lacquered, and now you're putting like candles right underneath that thing. But yeah, look dope. I want one.
Oh my god, you've talked about that now for a while. We've got a couple friends in woodworking.
Yeah,
you'd have to pay. It'd have to be like an $8,000 table.
I was gonna reach out and be like, is this even possible? Like, could you? It's like pumpkin carving, I guess, right? The idea where you carve it really thin in some places, but not like the whole way through, so that the light can still pass through a little bit. I feel like that'd be tough as shit to do with wood.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Still sick.
what you could do nowadays is use like the epoxy filling that you see, but I know epoxy is like expensive as shit too.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's either not easy or it's super expensive, and it's probably super expensive anyway. But all right, so Luke's there.
Yep.
And he stumbles under Driftmark, and Rhaenyra walks in. It's basically like he's not ready to be what's it called? The ruler of Driftmark, the Lord of Driftmark.
He's kind of like, I think, confronting that he's not really a Valerian, and he's like, it's fucked up that I'm taking this over from them. He doesn't say that. He says like, oh, I'm not suited for it, but I think that's kind of where he's coming from.
It's funny too, because the one thing he's like, he was the greatest, he was the greatest sailor ever, and I can't even get on the goddamn boat without getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, maybe that speaks a little bit to your heritage or like who your parentage is, but it's not like you got kids all the time who like, oh, like Michael Jordan's kid wasn't the greatest basketball player all the time. But
and I think they say like seasickness is one of the things that you get over with time. Not for everybody, but like most people, if you go out on a boat like every day for like a month, you won't be seasick by the end of the month.
I mean,
like, it might be a miserable 2 weeks, but you'll be over it by the end of it.
I used to get car sick really bad, and just like any kind of trip, and now it's on like back roads in a back seat that's like a driver's fucking bouncing us all around. That's like the only thing. But I've never been on a boat, so I don't know.
The only thing that I don't like is like when you go over one of those hills that's like the perfect descent where it's like, I guess the car's almost in like free fall and it feels like you're gonna like pee yourself for a second or whatever.
The belly drop. You get the little belly drop.
That is. I hate that. There's a lot of country roads near like my parents' house that have a lot of those straps. I don't like them.
But so this conversation of Rhaenyra basically like, you will be like, you can't choose your destiny. I was scared to.
Yeah, rewatching this, and so I rewatched it today, and there's a thing that I kind of knew that Luke was gonna die at the end of the episode anyway, because I've read the books. So like, you're right. There's like, you had mentioned this to me, I think over text. There's a lot of foreshadowing. Like she says to him here, like, oh, I had to prove myself worthy of being heir too.
Mm-hmm.
But my father protected me and helped guide me, and just like your mother's gonna do for you. Like she says, I'm gonna protect you, and then like later in the episode, she sends him off to fucking die. Yeah. Again, she didn't. You can't. I don't really blame her. She didn't foresee that, but yeah.
Right. But it's also just like we spent a lot of time on Luke this episode, more than we ever have of any of the kids.
Well, I think that's a problem that they're kind of having with this, and kind of a reason why I feel like they maybe should have split the season up this season into 2 seasons or something. I don't know, because I feel like we haven't had enough time to connect to certain characters yet. Like, Jace, we haven't seen Jace that much either. So like, he's gonna go off and start doing stuff, and we'll learn more about him next season. But like, it's hard to get like Viserys. We got a ton of time with Viserys, so when he died, it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But like Vaemond, when he died, nobody really cared except for like, holy shit, that was cool, right? It's one of those things. Yeah.
I mean, even Luke, like, oh shit, Luke, like he looked like a sweet innocent kid, but like, all right, Luke's dead. Like, I think we could all swallow that pretty easily and be like, all right, move on to the next.
Yeah, it's more a story. It moves the story forward more than it is like an emotional attachment for us. Like, oh my god, we lost this guy.
It makes sense to where we'll get into that more as we see Rhaenyra starting to lead. But Rhaenys comes in and drops the bomb that Viserys has died. And wait, there's more. Aegon's the usurper king now.
Yep, crown in the dragon pit in front of everybody.
I thought it was a great scene just to see the personalities of the people. And Daemon especially. Like, you saw Daemon, the darkest of gray that he's ever been. It's like, oh, I'm hot as hell. Like, I'm hot-headed.
Yeah.
He was killed. There's no way he died naturally, which, I mean, I think that's up for debate whether he got like poisoned or not.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't put it past him.
The other thing I think about Daemon is he expected this, or saw the possibility at least. Like, at least in my mind. Like, as soon as it happens, he's like, okay, here's what we got to do. Bang, bang, bang. When Rhaenyra is like really shocked. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they would do this. And Daemon doesn't seem as shocked. He just seems fucking pissed off. And like, he almost has like, okay, I thought about this. Here's what we're going to do if this happens type thing.
Sure. He's definitely ready to go. I think Rhaenyra might have had a little bit in her head that Alicent, we just kind of had this connection. I was supposed to fly back to King's Landing on Dragonback, which, I don't know. It seemed like, I don't know, maybe she was about to do soon, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
But Daemon is just like, it's go time. Like, let's get the men ready. Rhaenyra's like, hold the front door here. Let me let me. Oh, a miscarriage or like baby's coming, and
It's coming early too. In the books, they say it's about a month early, maybe a little bit more than that, because of the news. Like the news
shocked her
into giving birth early.
I mean, just looking at Viserys last episode, if that's how he looked in the show.
Well, she doesn't seem shocked. If you actually watch the scene where she gets the news from Rhaenys, Rhaenys says Viserys is dead. No reaction from. There's a reaction, but she doesn't like hold her belly. And then when she says Aegon is crowned, that's when she was like, ugh. And then like in the dragon pit. Ugh.
So I saw a video of a guy who was like, oh my god, like she was way more upset that her crown was usurped than her dad actually died.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's true. I think it was two different emotions. I think it was sad her dad died.
Yeah.
Shocked that they took the crown.
She was expecting her dad to die. Like you said, she saw him 2 days ago and he like couldn't make it through dinner. Yeah.
He had half a face. Walking to the throne probably killed him that day. If it was natural, he exerted too much energy that day.
Like sometimes if you have a loved one who's like dying and they're in a ton of pain, when they finally pass, it's almost like a relief that they're not suffering anymore, right? So again, like it's like why she might not have like a start bawling reaction.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was weird.
So Rhaenyra starts going into labor.
I think Daemon is like, why the fuck didn't you burn him to Rhaenys? Like she says like I escaped with my dragon, and Daemon's like, what the fuck? And which is kind of like there was a lot of fans that were pissed off about this last time, and I think she gives a good answer.
Sure, we talked about it too, and
yeah,
I think like the moment she gave her answer, I was like, all right, makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Like, and then you even said, I think, and I don't think she mentioned it, but like being a kinslayer, which I know is now like a major theme for Aemond. Again, if you look episode.
But if you look at the relations to her and the people on stage, yes, they're related, but it's like second cousin. It's not.
Sure.
I don't think that's normally even considered.
I think it's a lot more. I mean, the kids would be like her nephews, right, or her second cousins.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the kids are her second cousins. Yeah.
But they do have blood relations. So, but I think the one that she stated, like, I'm not going to be the one to start this war. It wasn't my war to start type of thing. She's spot on with.
Especially if you examine like kind of like how this episode begins for her. She's like, I'm not taking a side. When she sees Corley, she's like, we're going back to Driftmark and not doing shit. So like she's not even pro Rain. Like if you think about it, when she escapes the Dragon Pit, she just wants to get out of King's Landing. She's not pro green or pro black. Right.
And the whole we'll get into that when we get to that scene too. We'll spend, I'm sure, a little bit of time. So she goes off. Daemon starts getting like a perimeter set up, and Rhaenyra starts going into labor.
Yep.
And then we see Jace and Luke training out on the beach.
Yep. And Jace
just beating the shit out of Luke. I think it's partly because Jace has seen Aemon now. Like we just saw Aemon training in the yard.
Well, Luke was there too. They both saw him training with Kristen.
Right, but one has a little bit more pep in their step than Luke, and I'm sure Jace is older and stronger and everything, but...
So I think this is something I mentioned to you before, and kind of off topic, but I think I mentioned to you before that in the books there's like... Well, I don't even think it's really like mentioned or brought up, but in the books there's like a lot of fans that think Jace might be Christians.
And I was going to say this, like, if they didn't mean to do this with characters or actors... He looks like a young Kristen Cole.
Well, again, I don't even know if these actors are wearing wigs or if that's just their natural hair. But I've seen people, I think, like I've seen on Reddit, that people are like, Jace's hair is different than Luke and Joffrey's. And we haven't seen Joffrey that much, but it's right. Joffrey's and Luke's are kind of darker and curlier, and Jace is more like long and a little bit wavy.
I'd have to see that picture when they do show all three. I just think like his chin, like his face, like his like pouty kind of like lip look, like he looks like a young Kristen Cole.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask you like how that timeline set up from that night to when he's actually born, because I think the show gives it like a couple years from
there's a big time jump. I think it's like a 10-year time jump after.
I think we like squashed it. Like it's impossible for it to be Kristen on the show.
Yeah, I think I only brought it up because in my mind they weren't going to do it. But now that you're saying that, as the season goes on and the kids are getting older, I'm starting to see like, okay, I could see them doing a flashback of like Rhaenyra not drinking the tea. Right. But I think the way they did it was one episode ended with Rhaenyra not drinking the tea. The next episode was the one where they set up the marriage, which ends with the marriage with her and Laenor. Right, which is like a day or two later, like very recent after that, it seems like.
Right.
Maybe not too recent. Again, it's hard to tell how much time passed there.
Whatever it is after they say that, then we take the 6-year jump. I'm pretty sure we take the 6-year jump after that, and
then
she's
they're
giving
already
birth
born.
to Joffrey, and Jace can't be older than 2 or 3. He's definitely not 5, which would make more sense.
Yeah. I have that episode 5 is my notes. I just have very soon after the last episode, which is the one.
And then episode 6 is 6
years later, and then he's just born. Exactly. So it's possible. I think if they wanted to do that, they would have to go back and show like. I think a good way to do it would be to show Rhaenyra not drinking that tea. Like cut right back to that scene of her in the room with that tea.
And then I would just have to see again, like in episode 6, could Jace be passed off as like a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Which I don't remember what he was like when Joffrey was born, but I don't remember him being that old. Like
he's already in the pit training with his dragon, I think. Like that's him in that scene.
No, that's not episode 6.
Yeah, they bring Joffrey in, and then.
Well, he's like 12 then. He was like 10 in that.
Nah, that's definitely episode 6 because they bring Joffrey into the room as a baby. Harwin's there with the 2 kids, and Rhaenyra is like, Sir Harwin wants to see the baby. Laenor knows what's going on, gives the baby to Harwin, and then it says like, "Hey, we have to go train," and takes them out. And the next scene is them.
I'm googling real quick an episode of. Okay.
And I think the next scene is them training.
He's Kristen Cole's kid. It's confirmed.
I think it's a possibility for sure.
Let me see the actual.
One of the reasons too why I think it's not. I think if he is, it would have been interesting if they would have hinted to us already.
Dude, he's actually really old in this.
Yeah, it would have been cool if they hinted to us already about this, just because part of the reason I think the theory's cool is in the books when Kristen's the one that crowns Aegon, right? In that moment, if you're thinking like, oh, Kristen like is taking it away from his actual son, that's kind of the moment it's coolest. It's cool either way, I guess.
So it's interesting to see. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what kids I was thinking about. The kids are old. The kids are training in that episode. Yeah. And Jacaerys does have straight brown hair, and Luke does have curly ass brown hair.
Yeah.
No real. Neither of them look really like Harwin or Kristen here. But.
Well, if you go to their like personalities too, Jace seems like very accepting and like ready and like trying his best. Like we saw an episode or 2 ago, he's trying to learn. Trying really hard to learn High Valyrian. Rhaenyra's even like, call it for the day. He's like, no, I must learn the traditions, like blah blah blah. And Luke seems very opposite, very unsure of himself.
Sure.
Like
he's also a second son, so he's never
syndrome.
meant to take the crown. He's like worried about sailing and running a navy.
Well, as far as second sons go, he's got a pretty good gig. He's got like a gig that a first son would normally have, Lord of the Tides type thing. But yeah, so it's cutting back and forth between the council with Daemon and her giving birth.
Yep.
When they come in, there's a moment like she's giving birth and she's like, Jace, Viserys is dead. You're the heir now. Focus the fuck up. Don't let Daemon do shit. I don't know if she says Daemon, but she basically says like, don't let anything happen until this.
Basically
I'm
says
done
like
here.
nothing is to be done without me.
Yep.
And Daemon is putting everything in motion, which I think you needed to do something. You needed to at least set up your perimeter just in case they do try and attack you now.
Yep, that's what he does. We get news that the sea snake is not dead and he's coming back to Driftmark. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that happened really quickly. Well, I mean, the beginning of the episode is like, oh, the sea snake's going to die, right? That's so sad. And here we are 15 minutes later, maybe an hour later, and it's like, oh, he's good. He's actually on his way. I was like, oh, that was quick. Again, I'm glad I said it last week or 2 weeks ago. I would be really mad if he died off camera.
Yeah.
I just thought it just wasn't going to happen that way. Like,
it's one of the things where I wanted to say it back then, but in the books, he doesn't really leave. This is one of the things I don't really like, right? Like, he got injured in the Stepstones or near the Stepstones and then was taken to Tarth, and that's where he's been recovering, was Evenfall on Tarth, which is like Brienne's dad's castle.
Right.
And Rhaenys is like, oh, he's sick. Like, I wish I could see him. I haven't seen him in 6 years. Like, Rhaenys has a dragon.
And he's right there.
And he's like, right in. He's in Tarth. Like, yeah, like a day's ride.
I mean, why couldn't she just fly to, like, Driftmark? It's been 6 years.
Well, he's not at Driftmark. He's at Tarth.
I'm saying wherever he was. Like,
she could fly there. Exactly. That's my point. She could have flew there. And she's, like, mad that, like, oh, he's off in the Stepstones fighting. And I get it. Like, he abandoned her. But she doesn't have kids anymore, and she has a dragon. Like, why isn't she in the Stepstones fighting with him that whole time? In the books, he doesn't do that. What happens is just, like, he gets sick, and they're like, oh fuck, what happens if he dies? He's there for all of the debating about who's going to be Lord of the Tides, and then he
Oh, really?
just gets better. Yeah, like he kind of gets sick, and then he just gets better.
Is he on the grandson's side in that? I'm assuming he is.
Again, it's different. Like Vaemond is just kind of talking shit on Driftmark to Corlys and Rhaenys, and Daemon gets word, and Daemon comes over and kills Vaemond on Driftmark. They never go to King's Landing for that.
And Corlys is cool with that. He's like, oh shit.
I guess he's like, yeah, he was talking shit. I guess he's not. Yeah. I'm sure he's not happy about it, but he's not like anti Daemon and Rhaenys already. He was pro Luke, like you're saying. So
yeah. All right. So Daemon is sending ravens, or he's about to try and send ravens. I think
he actually gets them off. Yeah, they go to Massey, Darkland, and Bar Emmon.
What's the next? He says something where he's like, all right, I'm gonna go do this. And Jace actually walks in like, no the fuck you're not. Basically, I just don't remember what Daemon actually wanted to do.
He was gonna fly to Riverrun to convince Lord Tully.
Right, himself. And right. And Jace says no. It doesn't look like Jace really likes Daemon here.
Again, it's one of the things where Jace might agree with what Daemon's saying, but he's doing what his mom commanded because she is the one in charge.
I think it's just Jace's look. I don't know if they're really trying to put off that like Jace is trying to be a hardo.
I think he's just trying to do the right thing. He's like a Robb Stark type of guy at the moment. I think is how they're doing him.
Robb Stark, but I also think he thinks like he wants to be like, I'm the badass here. Like I'm telling you what to do. Like I've got rank almost. Like I'm the heir. You're my mom's husband.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Listen to me, Daemon.
He's a little proud.
So yeah, I don't think anything more than that. I just had a note of like the way Daemon looks at Jace when he gives kind of that order.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because then he takes Jace outside to talk to the Kingsguard.
Right.
And he's like, yo, whose side you on?
He's like, I'll show you what loyalty looks like.
Yeah. Which is, I think, kind
of
weird.
It was a weird line because these guys seem to be super loyal.
Well, it's first off, they seem super loyal. Like, they're not the guys you have to do this to. And secondly, like, even if they weren't super loyal, this doesn't really show loyalty. You know what I mean? Like,
you're just scaring it. You're scaring. Yeah. It's fear. It's fear.
Exactly. They're going to say they're pro Rhaenyra either way, even if they're not really loyal. And then they're going to leave in the middle of the night.
I mean, show the Michael Scott meme.
Loved and feared. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there was no, I guess you show, and this is kind of what they do when they send the messages out, is that they bring their dragons to remind them what a dragon can do.
Yeah.
And this is why Craxy's weird ass fucking body slithers around, dude. That dragon is weird looking, man.
So cool, though.
It's going to be cool as shit to see. Like, I almost think that dragon can, like, coil its neck around another one and like strangle it. Like it's so weird looking.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it'll be fun to see that one in battle. So the two white cloaks both basically pledge themselves or are like forced into pledging them, and like if you ever do leave, like we are going to kill you.
Yep. Well, and it won't be as clean as Dragonfire. Like it'll be worse.
Yeah, than that. We're gonna make you scream.
Yeah.
So Rhaenyra it's back and forth with Rhaenyra through her birth scene. Is this like all on her now?
Yeah, I think this is the end of the baby with the end of the birth.
A little bit weird throughout. She's having like dragon
cuts. It's cutting
flashes.
Yes.
Is it her dragon, Cyrax?
I think so because it's screaming, and it's like one of those things where like in the episode where Daemon's in the Stepstones, there's a part where Daemon gets hit by an arrow and Caraxi screams. I think it's like that type of thing where she's going through pain, so Cyrax, whoever she is also screaming.
Yeah. So that was my one question. I'm like, what are they trying to show? Or is that what they were trying to show, or are they trying to say like a dragon was hatching or a dragon was laying eggs? Like
part of what I thought is so Viserys' dream, right at the beginning, first episode with the whole like Emma Aaron dying.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, my son, born wearing Aegon's crown, and I place my son on the Iron Throne, right? And then all the dragons roared as one to the sound of thundering hooves or whatever. And then Viserys dies. Then they actually place Aegon on the throne, wearing Aegon the Conqueror's crown, right? So like in the beginning of the season, I kind of thought this is what Viserys' dream meant, right? It's not, people think that born with the crown meant the crown, like isn't like when a baby's crowning, that's like part of birth or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you do the C-section on Emma. People think that was like baby born with a crown, especially because she's like, oh, that'll hurt. Like childbirth is painful enough, right? That's what Emma says to Viserys when he's
Crowning
like,
is when the head is
yeah, I guess
coming
that's a
through,
good
though.
thing. But when
Yeah, you
Viserys
want
says
the
like,
baby to crown.
yeah, when Viserys says like he's born with a crown, Emma says like, oh, childbirth is painful enough. You know what I mean? Like what if you actually
Right. And the head's coming first, like the crown
yeah.
would be.
Yeah, so a lot of people thought that's what that prophecy was, because right, like born with the crown, they never really place him on the throne, so that doesn't make sense. But there is a tournament going on at the same time. But a lot of the book readers thought that the actual like the end of the first season would be like the realization of that, where they actually crown Aegon the second with Aegon's the Conqueror's crown on the Iron Throne, and then that's when the Dance of the Dragons, like the war actually kicks off. Dragons roaring as one. In that scene, I think Caraxes is roaring at the Kingsguard at the same time Cyrax is roaring. I didn't know if that's what they were playing off of. Maybe not.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the book and how that baby was supposed to look.
Yeah. One of the disappointments, I mean, it was a rough scene. Also, they've been focusing a lot on birth.
It was rough. I mean, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to get a woman's perspective on what they've seen, like the kind of realities maybe of childbirthing. Rhaenyra is also strong as fuck, like as just a person and a character. And one, like I was gonna ask you, like in the books, did she deliver this by herself? Like she made everybody else go away? Like, or is that not that big of a?
No, but it talks about like how it felt like the baby was clawing its way out, and like she was screaming like.
Hey, the one thing it was, I mean, all right. So tell us what the baby was supposed to look like.
I can probably get the quote up. I would just want to say like this is the fourth one, right? Because we had Emma Arryn dying in childbirth.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra's childbirth when it cuts to the 5-year time jump.
Lena.
Exactly, with the C-section, but actually getting burnt by potential C-section, actually getting burnt by fire, right?
Yeah, but going through it, and then the one thing I thought was just kind of goofy is she lets the baby just fall to the ground.
Yeah.
That baby would have had a concussion if it was alive. That baby thumped to the ground.
On Dragonstone, no cheers were heard. Instead, screams echoed through the halls and stairwells of Sea Dragon Tower, down from the Queen's apartments where Rhaenyra Targaryen strained and shuddered in her third day of labor. The child had not been due for another turn of the moon, but the tidings from King's Landing had driven the princess into a black fury, and her rage seemed to bring on the birth, as if the babe inside her were angry too and fighting to get out. The princess shrieked curses all through her labor, calling down the wrath of the gods upon her half-brothers and their mother, the queen, and detailing the torment she would inflict upon them before she would let them die. She cursed the child inside her too, Mushroom tells us, clawing at her swollen belly as Grand Maester Gerardes and her midwives tried to restrain her and shouting, "Monster, monster, get out, get out, get out!" When the babe last came forth, she proved indeed a monster, a stillborn girl, twisted and malformed, with a hole in her chest where her heart should have been, and a stubby, scaled tail, or so Mushroom describes her. The dwarf tells us that it was he who carried the little thing to the yard for burning. The dead girl had been named Byssenia, Princess Rhaenyra announced the next day, when the milk of the poppy had blunted the edge of her pain. She was my only daughter, and they killed her. They stole my crown and murdered my daughter, and they shall answer for it.
Oh, wow. So,
pretty badass.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that's me and some of our guys in the Discord were talking about, gals in the Discord were talking about. It seems like they're making people a little bit soft, and not in like a pussy way, in like a good way.
It's like in a more lovable way.
Yeah, Otto is the only one really playing games, it seems like.
Like at this point, there's no real reason to not like Rhaenyra.
Yeah, exactly. She murdered the person for Laenor's death, but that's.
I was kind of like off her when she started lying, like during the Kristen Cole kind of affair type thing. I was like, oh, she's lying to everybody. Like she's gray. She's not. She's been like a pretty good mother, pretty good leader. Like we'll see her kind of like keeping this thing together a little bit. Alicent hasn't been as bad since she was like super crazy early on. Otto's always been a snake. Daemon, I think, kind of shows you again soon. And him and Rhaenyra's one-on-one, like who he truly is to the core.
Yeah.
But I do agree that, I mean, that right there, like, sounds like that started the war itself, like this baby dying, where she's kind of in the show. It seems like she's still grieving a little bit before she's like, all right, like, let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, she commands Daemon's death just for kind of talking some shit. Like, it's not like he's announces this to the king and the court. Like, he's just talking shit to his own family, and she's like, I will not stand for this. Go kill him and feed him to my dragon. Like, she's done some questionable shit already. Like, you can see where that comes from, but yeah, still questionable. Sure. And they're kind of trying to sugarcoat, I think, some of that stuff.
So funeral for the kid happens.
I think it's a callback to the, again, funeral for Emma Aaron and that baby. She's even kind of dressed like Viserys was. Is she wearing the crown at this point?
She is not. Eric brings the crown up to her. So
I like this change in the books. This is Stefan Darklin who brings the crown, who's one of the two Kingsguard who's already there in the books.
Okay.
In the books, Eric's already there, but they definitely put Eric in King's Landing, so there could be a little bit of the setup with the brother.
I liked Eric bringing her dad's crown. Super convenient that it fit her like a glove.
It looked better on her than it does on Viserys, and I think a lot of the shots they had of like her from behind, it was meant to be like you can't even tell if this is Viserys or Rhaenyra. Like, right. And I think that's playing on the gender thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a king or a queen, right? Like, just like it's whoever's got the crown.
Well, and I think it means a little bit like this crown fits perfectly on her.
Yeah.
Like maybe she was meant to wear it, type of thing.
Yeah.
I like that. Daemon kind of looks at the crown for a second. I'm just playing it as we're talking now, and he's like, still listening to Eric and whatnot, and then he goes and puts it on her, which was a cool scene.
Yeah, I think it's one of the more emotional scenes of the episode. Like, Eric just like being like, you're the real one. Like, I was just there. Fuck them.
She's obviously like hurting right now, like not even about the throne, but now she's like, all right, like this is okay. Like, I'm the queen still, and Daemon's the first to kneel. Then everybody else kneels, and then Rhaenys doesn't kneel, or at least they don't show her kneel. So me and Danny started talking immediately, like, oh, I wonder if she knelt, and they just didn't show it because they want us to question it, or we'll see it later. And does it go right into her and Corlys? No. So the next.
Yeah, I didn't think anything of this until the next scene, where at one point somebody brings up like,
you probably knew that Corlys was coming to pledge his ships and everything.
Yeah, but like I said in the last episode, like in the books, the Lord of the Tides thing doesn't really take place in King's Landing. It's just like a Driftmark and Dragonstone thing. And then I forget exactly what it's for, but like the dinner they have where Aemon gives the toast about the Strongs, that's just for like Viserys and Alicent's like 15th anniversary, or like to celebrate Viserys like 30th year of rule or something like that, right? It's totally unrelated. And then like his death doesn't even happen at that same time because of all those things, like that those three things got pushed together for the show, which I have no problem with. But because they're not together in the books, Rhaenys and Corlys aren't even. They're both on Driftmark when Viserys dies, and then they just come to the Black Council as one of their supporters, like right off the bat. There's no like question of like, who are we going to support? Part of that is because in the books, there's no hint. Again, fans think this, but there's no hint in the books that Rhaenyra and Daemon were behind the killing of Laenor. So there's no reason for there to be a feud there, which is kind of the only reason there's a feud in the show.
So this scene's pretty cool. She's a little bit more tidied up. Like at the funeral, she kind of had her hair kind of out and about, and she's got a clean braid now. She's walking in with her guards. You can see the table starting to get lit, which we mentioned was just a dope scene of, and I don't think we've ever seen back to just when like Daenerys was at Dragonstone, the actual table being lit. Like she probably didn't even know that the table was meant to light up.
Exactly. Yeah, like Stannis and them just didn't know about this.
And it kind of reminded me just of like the original Game of Thrones theme with like the table kind of lighting. I don't know, just the map aspect of the original Game of Thrones theme. And she walks in, a little bit of funny humor with like, she halts with her guards and then she starts walking again, and the guards keep walking. She's like, hold up, like you stop.
No,
you stay here. And it's just like they're untrained. Like she's probably never had a guard actually walk her in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But a bunch of people here. Rhaenys is still here. She kind of has the two, I guess they're Targaryens, but Baela and Rhaena, like one ends up being her cupbearer.
They were going to send them.
One brings her a cup of wine.
Okay, yeah. And she kind of looks at her. Yeah, I remember that too. And she looks at her like, oh, I used to be in your position. Like I used to be the cupbearer. That's kind of how I took it.
And then she nods to I think Bela, whatever one is the ward, she's like, hey, come over here too. And then she comes. So she takes a look at the map. Damon's across from her. There was a little bit of a second where, to myself, like everybody is waiting for her, and on her face, it just looks like she's like, all right, what the fuck do I do now?
You know what I expected there? Remember what Danny says? I think it's the very last cut of the episode 1 in season 7.
Let us begin.
I thought that's what she was going to say. Is like, let us begin. And I wouldn't have hated that. I know most people were kind of like, say some of those seasons were iffy. I think that was a cool part where Danny's like, let's fucking get to it.
I'm still one of those where, like, sure, is season 8 exactly how you wanted it to end? No. Is there a lot of faults with...
I feel like I have more problems with season 7 than season 8, if we're being honest, right? John going north with like a group of like 4 people. Like, it's cool, and that like meet up and the conversations that happens cool, but it just like doesn't make sense. How Danny just like
you can be mad. Overnight. Don't like it don't I'm tired of hearing like, oh, they ruined all the character development. Shut up. You like watch the damn show or don't. And I'm tired of you hearing about it.
Even with season 8 and season 7 and season 8, all of Game of Thrones is still a way better show than 95% of all the shows out there.
Shut up. Everybody, shut up. Watch the show, enjoy it, complain about it, but you're enjoying it while you complain about
Criticize it, but don't complain about it.
Yeah, watch the show.
Sure. So what do they talk about in this council? They're talking about like who do we
have? Like, what do we have? They have like 30 men. They have 30 knights, 200 just like people that I think they would give a sword to. And then they have
some archers.
Some archers, and they have dragons. We got dragons.
Yep. So they talk about the other houses though, and again, like it's hard to remember exactly who they're talking about, who's their friends, who's the bad guys. They talk about Tully, Arryn, Storm's End, and Winterfell. They think those are the ones that they can probably win.
Have to sway them. I think they're kind of like swing houses right now, and they're probably the most important.
Some of them they talk about are more swingy than others. Like she says, like, yeah, you're gonna have to swing Storm's End, but like somebody says, like the Starks never swore an oath that they didn't hold. So like I feel like they're more confident on some than others.
Sure. So the scene I'm so have right now: Celtigar and Staunton. Never heard of them. Already declared. Massey, Darkland.
Celtigar, I think, is in the room.
Okay. Massey, Darkland, and Bar Emmon.
Yeah, these are very small houses that are like on the coast of
Dragonstone,
like where not on the coast of Dragonstone, but on like the bay, that area, the gullet where Dragonstone and Driftmark are around. Okay. These are pretty much the same houses that Stannis has in like the very beginning of Clash of Kings, when he's like sending Davos to get other Stormlords. Really, no one has joined Stannis except for the people really close to Dragonstone. Like Bar Emmon and Massey are 100% with Stannis.
The Vale, she mentions how the Vale is still run by her grandmother. They're not going to turn on us.
Yep.
River Run was a friend to Viserys. Maybe they'll still honor her claim.
Lord Grover.
Yeah.
And his grandson Elmo.
Is it Grover Tully? Yeah. That's just Grover, Sesame. Elmo, you mentioned that. It was Sesame Street deal.
Yeah, we've only heard of Grover so far, but yeah, they're all Sesame Street. I think it's actually the Muppets. I guess all of those characters were from the Muppets before Sesame Street, because one of them's Kermit too. One of them's named Kermit.
So is Daemon still set on going to River Run?
I don't know.
Lord Grover is fickle and easy to sway. He will need to be convinced of the strength, and we will support. I'm pretty sure Daemon. I'm going to treat with him myself. I was confused when they end up sending the princes out because there's 3 people.
I think the third one is Meleys, meaning Rhaenys' dragon, because she says with Corlys or something, I'll protect. Like he's gonna take his ship somewhere, and she's like, I'll protect your ships with my dragon, basically.
She was the turret or something like that. I was like, who the fuck is that? Yeah.
So I was thinking that too. I was like, are they sending Joffrey? At first I was like, is this Joffrey? I was like, no, they're not sending Joffrey. Like, because they don't send Joffrey anywhere in the books. Right. I was like, where would they be sending him? They didn't mention it before. And I was like, maybe this is Daemon going to River Run.
I thought, well, now that Daemon's saying he's going to River Run, but we don't see it.
Well, he shows up late. He's the one that tells Rhaenyra about Luke dying.
Yeah.
So it can't be him. He's still in the castle later. Right. So I think it has to be Rhaenys. It's the only one that makes sense.
So the Stark line is there's never lived a Stark who forgot an oath, which is just a great callback to just like the Stark family and being honorable.
Except fucking Robb.
Yeah, Robb's the worst. That's why he died. He ruined him and Kat single-handedly ruined everything.
I don't know about Kat.
Well, I just been on that horse for a while. That Kat ruined everything, and I could still argue that, but Robb definitely played his role.
So they ask about Driftmark, and Rhaenys is like, it's not up to me. It's up to Corlys. So we'll hold on that one.
And I think the best part about it then is that Damon starts counting dragons here, and he counts Meleys in with
their
dragons. Like, all right, well, we have Craxes, Cyrax, and Meleys.
His count is a little inflated here, and again, I think a lot of this council meeting is exactly how it goes in the books, but who says what is different. Like, I don't think Damon is the one overestimating dragons. I think he's realistic about it. I think Rhaenys is all for this in the book. She's not like on the fence, and I think she's the one like, oh, it's 13-3. But if you count like the dragons, if you look at the dragons they're counting for the 13, like it's not actually 13. They really have 5. They have Cyrax, Caraxes, and then the 3 kids. Right, Daemon, Rhaenyra, and then their 3 children's dragons.
You're not counting Meleys in the book?
In the book, Meleys 100% is in too, but and she is in by the end of the episode. But then there's also
and Baelus dragon.
Exactly, but in the books she's not even ridden at that point.
Oh, I mean, Arax looks young as shit. Arax was a little dragon.
Yeah, but like recently probably ridden.
You know what also made me mad now thinking more about it over the course of 18 hours or whatever it's been? How fast Dany's dragons grew. Drogon grew to as big as Cyrax for sure, if not bigger than Cyrax, in a lot less time than these dragons have now been born for 15, 16 years.
Well, Jace, I think Luke is like...
If Luke is 14, which he is today, and he had a cradle egg.
Yeah, Dragon's 13-ish, probably.
And Jace is older.
So, but do you remember how the dragons died? Tyrion tells somebody about this later in the books, like how the ending of the dragons happened.
They were born in captivity, so they got smaller?
Smaller and smaller because they lived in the dragon pit. Yeah, like dragons that roam free grow bigger. And Dany's dragons were roaming free pretty much the whole time, especially Drogon. Drogon the whole time.
He got fat. He grew big really quickly.
I agree. I don't know if it explains it. I think that...
I'm not that mad about it. Drogon was a beast, and I love Drogon. But
I think they oversized Dany's dragons to make it cool in the show.
Yeah, not really thinking about it. Or just being able to defend that they grew outside.
Well, I think even in the books, if you have smaller dragons, like imagine that Dany has 3 dragons the size of Arrax.
Yeah.
Which is Luke's dragon. She's still fucking people up. You know what I mean? Like, that's still huge against
against no dragonless army.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't need to be huge to do what they did.
Yeah, I mean, when Drogon burns down the Unsullied Master, he's not that big.
Yes, exactly.
And he gets really big really quickly, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yep, agreed.
All right, so they just mentioned that obviously the Greens have the high towers and the Lannisters and the Lannister fleet. So that kind of like balances the deal with like when they end up getting Driftmark's fleet, and now the Lannisters must have like a decent navy on the west coast.
Yeah. So hang on. So Daemon claims it's 13v3 for dragons, right? And like I said, they have like 5, 6 if you count Meleys. Baela's dragon, you get 7, but again, not ridden yet. And then Daemon throws in these other 6 dragons that just happen to be on Dragonstone, even though they're not ridden. 3 of them have had riders before. One of them is Laenor's dragon, Sea Smoke.
Yeah.
And then you have Silverwing and Vermithor, who were good Queen Alysanne and Jaehaerys' dragons. So the king before Viserys, right? Viserys' grandpa and grandma. Their dragons are still there. I think this is one of those is the dragon that Daemon goes to at the end of the episode, but I don't know what the point in that is.
I saw something that's Vermithor.
Yeah, so that's King Jaehaerys' dragon. I don't know what the point of that is.
Which is I just saw someone like post today. Vermithor is the second biggest to Vhagar.
Probably second biggest ridden. So there's 3 more dragons that I don't know if we get the name of them here, but Daemon mentions that there's wild dragons that basically were never ridden and never bonded, and they're pretty old.
All of whom nest here, which is interesting.
We got Sheep Stealer, Grey Ghost, and Cannibal. And I think
I've heard of Cannibal. Cannibal must be a badass. I haven't heard of him. I just saw the name, and you don't get a name like that unless you're a fucking freak.
I think he might. Again, this is something that we don't really know in the books. It's like a toss up, but people think he might be bigger than Vermithor.
The one thing I just don't understand is that the one Laena child is still dragonless, and there's all these dragons. Like,
yeah, but you kind of got to do, if you don't have a dragon, you kind of got to do what Aemon did.
You got to do the Vhagar ride.
Yeah, you got to risk it all.
I mean, if you give up an eye for it, is it worth it? I guess. I just think maybe they had a little bit more connection to like Sea Smoke. I would think that Sea Smoke would maybe be accepting of the line.
Well, yeah, the ridden dragons are way more docile, right? Like it's easier to mount a dragon that's already had a rider, I think. For sure. So yeah, I think that council ends with Damon basically saying like, all right, the
13
plan
to
is we're
4.
going to take Harrenhal. Yeah, 13-4. I don't know if anyone calls him out on it. I think somebody does in the book. Rhaenyra's like, you're crazy. It's actually 5-3, and one of their 3 is the biggest ever.
Rhaenyra's
so.
like, none of ours have actually fought. Like,
Yeah.
Vhagar has been in 100 battles. Ours haven't even.
Which isn't true. Caraxes has fought a lot down in the Stepstones, but yeah, none of their other ones have.
Yeah. So they're kind of moving stuff around the map, just talking more about what we said. And Damon's just like, if we get this spot here, we'll siege them by nightfall type of thing. Like he's just like.
He's talking about Harrenhal too. That's where he's going to try and take, is what he says.
Yeah.
Like a place that they can like kind of take all their dragons to and attack from.
Yeah, but he's just so
gung ho.
He's just so like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and Rhaenyra's like, stop. And we get word that there's a ship out on the bay, and it's a green dragon. I don't like that they've already changed. They've already got masts ready.
Well, so this doesn't also make sense. Like in the last episode, when Aegon's getting crowned, they actually have the new sigil on his chest and on the banners behind him. But it's not a green dragon on black. It's a golden dragon on black, which doesn't really make sense because they call them the greens. But he does take a golden dragon as his sigil. I don't like how they had the right sigil in the last episode, and then they just call it green here. Like, who says it? Are they just colorblind? Like red, green, colorblind? Whoever says it.
It's Sir Eric is the one that says it.
Yeah, again, it's not a huge deal, but it doesn't make sense.
You know what else I saw too after, just because we mentioned it, Helena making that bug.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly I saw something, she took a spider for her own sigil.
Ah, gotcha. It only had 6 legs, which was why I thought it was a tick, but maybe she just hadn't sewn the last
maybe
2
she wasn't done. Yeah. Yeah. But that's what I saw. No credible source. I'm not saying that they were credible, but all right. So Otto comes up and like a complete "we've been here before" flashback, and it kind of got me fired up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to that one, right? Like Rhaenyra landing with her dragon behind everybody, walking up to Damon,
just calmly walking.
Swords
through
getting drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. They definitely got their use out of the set. They're like, hey, we spent a ton of money on this fucking set. I think they built the whole thing on like a rotating platform, and then they like would rotate it to take the different shots. So they would film all the like everything from one angle on one day, and then overnight they would like rotate this whole thing and then like film all the other shots or something. But yeah, pretty sweet. In the books, Otto doesn't show up. I think that makes way more sense. Like it's so risky for Otto to show up. Like again, like Rhaenyra's already fucking fired up by this point. Like if Otto shows up, he's getting burned.
I was ready for Cyrax to maybe burn a guy or two.
I think in the books it's pretty much just Eric with an A, and like a maester.
Okay.
And some guards.
I like that they had the 3 Kingsguard behind Damon, and then I feel like Otto had 3 as well, and then just personal guards.
I think he had Eric.
Maybe just one.
I think he did have Eric.
Yeah.
With an A. Because she says something, takes the hand pin off, and then somebody half draws their sword, and then it cuts to Eric with an E, so I'm guessing that was his brother.
Yeah. Okay. I think it is Eric.
I think I sent you a quote earlier that like they have like more of a conversation in the books.
Yeah, I didn't read that one.
They both try and like convince each other like,
why one's king.
Join my side. If we don't figure it out here, we're gonna be on opposite sides of this war, and they don't figure it out.
I mean, Otto, for being a turncloak usurper, presents a pretty good case for Aegon.
I don't know. It's kind of a toss up. He says like, you lost the right to the throne the day Aegon was born. Yeah. It's just that you and Viserys are the last to realize it, or something like that. Which is just his point of view, right? Like he was kind of he's been trying to convince people of this the whole time, but it's not necessarily true.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying it with complete conviction, and he's like, he's got the crown, he's got the sword, he's got everything that would show that he's the king. The crown, the sword, the throne. It's his. Yeah.
He gives her the page from that Alicent that she had ripped out and given to Alicent earlier, which I think is interesting too, because I think that scene is the same scene where Rhaenyra says something to Alicent about like, oh, I hope my father does have a son. And Rhaenyra's like, wait, wouldn't that would like make you further down the line? And she's like, I don't care. I just want my father to be happy. Yeah. I want to sail the world and eat cake.
Yeah.
Right. She basically tells Alicent, I don't want to be queen. I don't care. It's a lot of responsibility.
Right.
I just want to do my thing.
It was kind of a reminder like, hey, you didn't want this.
That's how I took it. Yeah. Not only are we friends, but also
Sure.
if you think about like that time, that was like I want to do whatever the fuck I want.
But again, we're not. She's way past that person. Like ever since she was read the prophecy, everything's changed to
Yep.
her.
Exactly.
So she takes it. I think the terms that they give her, right?
Very
Jace
generous.
will be Dragonstone's heir. Luke will have Driftmark. Your other children will be High Lords at court. They offer a squire and a cupbearer. Like it's not an awful. I mean, more or less they're prisoners, right? The two kids that are cupbearers and a squire become basically prisoner wards. Would you agree with that? Like, hey, we have your two kids. Like, don't do anything to try and overthrow us, or we'll kill your kids.
Damon calls him out on it too.
Well, yeah, he's like, I'd rather feed him to my dragon than give him to you. I think is what he says.
Yeah.
Then he's like, all right, fuck it, let's kill these people, and Rhaenyra stops him.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read a quick quote from the book. How like again, I said it was just Orwyle and Kingsguard and a few guards. Rhaenyra heard the terms, and so I think it's like the same terms. Rhaenyra heard the terms in stony silence, then asked Orwyle if he remembered her father, King Viserys. Of course, your grace, the maester answered. Perhaps you can tell us who he named as his heir and successor, the queen said, her crown upon her head. You, your grace, Orwyle replied. And Rhaenyra nodded and said, with your own tongue you admit I am your lawful queen. Why then do you serve my half-brother, the Pretender? Munkin tells us that Orwyle gave a long and erudite reply, citing Andal law in the Great Council of 101. Mushroom claims he stammered and voided his bladder. Whichever is true, his answer did not satisfy Princess Rhaenyra. A Grand Maester should know the law and serve it, she told Orwyle. You are no Grand Maester, and you bring only shame and dishonor to that chain you wear. She then has somebody rip off his chain and sends him back to King's Landing. So again, pretty badass, kind of like her taking the pin off Otto. Like it's the same thing. Like you're no hand, you're a traitor. Right. She does the exact same thing just to Orwyle.
Yeah, no, I thought it was
kind
cool.
of badass. Makes him admit like I'm the queen before he leaves.
So Otto just continues like, hey, there's no need to fight here. We'll be good. And he's like, Damon, like I said, let's fight. And she's like, nope, I'll give you an answer tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she walks off. And then we get a council again. And this is the first time Rhaenyra's like, hey, we're not going to do anything. Like, it was very Daenerys-ish. Like, I'm not going to just burn down the Seven Kingdoms. The early Daenerys.
Okay.
I'm not going to, I don't want to be, she basically says, I'm not going to be the queen of bones and ash or something like that.
I think that this is a really good, they're pretty much showing the Daenerys turn. It's kind of how I see it. They're showing a Daenerys turn to not as good, but I think they're doing a better job of it. Even though we don't know Jace or Luke or any of these people, like as well as we know, like Missandei and Jorah, right? I already kind of feel that the death of Luke has impacted Rhaenyra more than either the death of, I don't know, the Missandei death. Like Dany gets a fucking look on her face. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell that like they're doing the same thing.
Sure, it was exactly the same thing. Which is kind of what I was saying. Is she's like, I don't want to be the ruler of Ash.
Yes.
And then at the end of it, it's almost like, well, fuck it. Like they're burning for this.
Yeah.
But she's also, I don't know if it's here or not yet, but she was like, if war is going to be started, we're not going to be the ones that start it, which
she gets her wish.
Yeah, she does get her wish. And I think it's pretty, well, let's talk more about that because I think there's some controversy to how it actually ends with Aemond. I'm sure we'll spend some time on that.
Yeah.
But
I think she has a great line in the scene where she comes in and I think it's probably Daemon who's saying like, we're going to go to war. We're going to go to war. And she's like, I'm queen. What is my duty? Is it to keep the realm safe or is it to sit the Iron Throne?
Yeah.
Is it like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Which is, I think, is a great question. And what makes me think of is Stannis in book 3 when Davos brings him the letter from the Night's Watch. And basically, again, part of this is because he's being fed stuff from Melisandre. He basically says like, if I'm the king, that's my job, is defend the realm, whether they acknowledge me or not. It's kind of the conclusion Stannis comes to as a big duty guy. And he sails north to help with the fucking wildlings. You know what I mean?
Right. It's my duty to save the realm, and it's the wildlings that is not them. Sure. Yeah. And this is so Daemon is like calling her out like to her face in front of, so you're doing nothing type of thing. Like you're weak, like you're weak like my brother and your father, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
She kicks everybody out of the room, and she just like, all right, like relax, Damon. Like you know why this is important to keep everybody together because I need everybody to do the prophecy.
Another thing is in the book, this is in autumn, so like winter's around the corner. We don't like late autumn is when this is happening, which is kind of even more reason for Rhaenyra not want shit to pop off now. If all they know is something bad's gonna happen in the wintertime,
and winter's coming,
you got to think whoever knows this prophecy's got to get pretty shaky every wintertime. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's curious that Viserys didn't tell Daemon? I mean, it can't be like the heir passes hands probably enough, right? Till you, I'm trying to like Daemon. I don't know how long he was heir.
He was heir since Viserys became king in 101. Rhaenyra is named heir, I think, earlier in the books, but in the show, I think it's in 112. So he's heir for like 11 years, I think.
Okay. Well, then you would think like something could happen to me. Like, hey, you need to know this thing too.
For sure.
Which doesn't happen. It's kind of aggressive that he like once she calls out like, "Oh, you don't know the dream," and he like starts choking the shit out of her.
Yeah, the one thing I don't like about this is from what we've seen, we don't know. Like, sure, Viserys had dreams, but all we've heard of is one dream.
Right.
He had the dream about his own son, and then he's heard about the dream from Aegon the Conqueror. We don't know that he had other dreams, right? Like Egg and Duncan Egg's brother Daron, or Dame, whatever that. I think his name's Daron. Might be Damon the drunkard, whatever. Egg's middle brother who's drunk all the time, the dreamer. He has 2 or 3 dreams throughout the course, I think, right? We've only heard Viserys having one. If we would have heard of Viserys having more, this makes more sense. Because I can see then that Viserys, like, since childhood, has been, like, having these dreams and being like, yo, Daemon, listen to this dream I had. Like, it's going to change everything. And Daemon just being fed up of it by now.
Yeah.
And, like, hearing it from Rhaenyra after he just thinks that Rhaenyra gave this Viserys speech of, like, oh, we're not going to fight. We're going to be peaceful. It just, like, pushed him over the edge. Like, you are just being your father.
Sure.
Stop it. But from what we've got, like, Daemon doesn't know about any dreams except for the one that Emma knew about, right?
Right.
If that one.
It doesn't even seem like he knows that one. Right. It doesn't make much sense. And then he chokes her, which is aggressive. And she's like actually gasping for air.
Yeah.
It's like, relax, bro.
It's not like he's just like holding her in place. He's actually choking her.
And he mentions to her, dreams didn't make us king, dragons did. And so I saw a cool, it's a little bit cool that we've had a little bit of time since we watched the video because now I was able to like kind of see some things and look up. It's kind of a callback to when Rhaenyra first found out about the prophecy, when Viserys told her in front of Balerion, like, we were fools to think that we could control the dragons.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this episode, neither dragon is controlled and starts this whole thing off. And Daemon just in belief of like, dragon, we need that dragon. We need them all. And they, we actually can't control them type of thing. We were fools to think that we could. And,
I like how they did that. Did it well.
Yeah. What's next?
Corlys and Rhaenys. So we get our boy Corlys again.
Yeah. He looks pretty healthy. Looks okay. I guess he wakes up from a decent nap.
Yep.
Our girl Rhaenys is mad that he abandoned her. It's kind of weird. He's like, I had to abandon you. Like, no, you didn't. Like, I agree.
Yeah, he was running away from his problems. But again, it doesn't make sense because she had the dragon and could have been with him if she wanted to. So.
So we've talked on this. They're like, we don't want to be. It's kind of weird that Corlys is like, let's just go back to Driftmark. We could just sit at our castle. No, you can't. You can't just do that. Like, who do you think you are? You think Driftmark's that far away? Like, you'd have to like go east if you wanted no parts in this thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So she's like, wait, Rhaenyra's the one that's like kind of keeping this thing together. Like everybody wants her to go to war, and she's like keeping a calm head, and that changes Corlys's mind.
Yeah, I think Rhaenys is impressed by how she's been tempering Daemon. You know what I mean? Yeah. So she's like kind of supports, and they're like, yeah. So then Corlys shows up during like the next council where they're trying to figure out shit going on, and he basically is like, yeah, we're gonna support you.
I think it's a curious scene because it looks like Rhaenyra is hopeless in this council meeting. Like she's just kind of like sitting off. She's at the council. Everybody's around the table and she's sitting down away from the table, like almost like they've been talking about the same thing over and over again. And she's like, I'm tired of hearing about like, we can do this, that, and this. Like, we don't have anything. and then Corlys comes in, offers up the ships, which is just like now we're talking. Like we've got.
Well, I think kind of to your Michael Scott quote, "Would you rather be feared or loved?" I think Daemon is hardcore taking the feared route, right? He takes the Kingsguard and he's like, "Fucking kneel or burn."
Right.
And then you got Rhaenyra who like is doing the opposite. She's like not making really any hardcore moves. And then we have both Sir Eric showing up without any, like, no one made him do that.
Mm-hmm.
He did it because he believes in her and he gives her the crown. Same with Corlys. No one made Corlys do anything. He just actually believes in her. And I think, like you're saying, she's kind of like, do I deserve this? What am I going to do? And she's getting this support from people who aren't forced into supporting her.
Yeah.
And it just helps her get more confidence.
And she's like, all right, like, let's get some stuff. And then we get back to this. We need Storm's End, Winterfell, and the Vale. And I think the Vale's kind of in hand. So I've got two things here.
Yep.
They pretty much say, like, we got the Vale. And they pretty much say we've got Winterfell because they will never turn their back on an oath. And they send Jace there. I get it's a farther trip. But Storm's End is so, like, they talk about how close Storm's End is. Storm's End is a lot closer to King's Landing than.
But the relation to Storm's End is only one generation less than the relation to the Eyrie, because Rhaenys' mom was a Baratheon.
Sure.
So, and Rhaenys is Luke's grandma. So Luke's great grandma was a Baratheon.
Right.
In the books, I think the Baratheon guy says something about this. Like, I don't give a fuck about my great grandma's great my great grandfather's great granddaughter. Like, I don't give a fuck about it. Like, it's too far gone. But yeah, it's like, it's not that much different than what they're banking on in the Eyrie.
Well,
and I
don't even think Luke really brings up great grandma.
I don't think he does in the show, but in the books he does.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, like, if relation is what we're going off of, let's think about the Eyrie and the two people leading Team Black right now. We got Daemon and Rhaenyra. Daemon had some shit going on in the Eyrie earlier this.
Right. He killed his bronze bitch.
He threatened to steal everything. There was a 10-year time jump, so we don't know if he actually took Runestone or not. Like, they kind of glossed it. He threatened to do, and then we jumped 10 years, so we don't know if he actually showed up and did that.
I didn't remember that at all, actually.
In the wedding with Laenor, he comes up and he's like, "I want justice."
No, I remember that. Yeah. I just didn't think on it. I just think it's like you're sending young Luke into, sure, maybe Storm's End. He goes as a messenger. He's got the white flag, everything like that. Like, he should be able to return home, but he flies right past King's Landing to get to Storm's End.
Yeah, you can fly around, but yeah, going pretty close.
Either way, he's in closer danger than enemy territory than Jace is.
Yeah.
So I think it's also the big thing that kind of put this in. Once we found out that they had the fleet, he also not only won the Stepstone War, but controls the Stepstones.
Oh yeah.
And can now shut down the Narrow Sea, which I was like, damn, like, we're gonna siege them. Like, I was just hyped. I was hyped with that. Like, Corlys is a badass character.
Yeah, he's dope. And I think they're thinking about making a whole spin-off series just on Corlys, like, from before this time period. Because he goes on 9, they're called the 9 Great Voyages, which makes the Valerians the richest house. Yeah. They're not rich because they have gold or anything like that, like the Lannisters, or they don't have the best fields like the High Gardens. They just go out and steal shit, basically, just like boss pirates.
Yeah, no, he's cool. So, and
we get the Rhaenyra, Jace, and Luke talking like, "Hey, your messengers. Here's your messages. You and the Stark boy are like the same age. Hopefully, you'll get along."
Swear to the 7 that you're not going as a warrior.
Yeah.
Luke's like, no problem. I will put my hand on that. I do not need to fight anybody.
Yeah.
And Jace is like, all right. I definitely thought with how hesitant Jace was to put, and you can just see the difference between the two kids. Like, Jace looks like Kristen Cole, man. Like, he looks
I think
like
that's a scene
Kristen
where I was really
Cole.
like, these two could be different. Yeah.
But I just thought with Jace kind of being hesitant that he would be one to be like, I might fight somebody. And like,
yeah.
I didn't know what he would. I thought we were going to see him again. Like I said, at Winterfell, we didn't. And then just another foreshadowing thing. Rhaenyra gives Luke a little bit more coaching up on this deal and like rubs his hand. And you're like, well, Luke's fucked. Like, it just wasn't setting up well for Luke.
Yeah. So then all these 3 dragons leave. Like we talked about that already. I thought it was weird how they're 3, but I think the third one is Melee's with Rhaenys on
I
it.
thought Arax was sea smoke too. It's got kind of that sea smoke-ish
Same
color.
coloring, but it's really small.
I'm trying to pause it here to see if I can tell who the other.
I think it's red, right? And I don't think either Arax or Vermithor, not Vermithor. What's his fucking name?
I can't tell.
Vermax is
The dragons are
Jacaerys.
too dark.
So Vermax, Arax, and Melee's is who I think it is.
Melee's is red.
Yeah.
All right, I think
The
Melee's
Red Queen is what she's called.
I think Melee's was the farthest one, and I think you can kind of see Melee's like turn off, like maybe it's just doing a circle. And we do a continued flyby. All right, so one thing in that council was that Daemon's not there, and I think Corlys asked, "Where's Daemon?" And she's like, "He's busy." Daemon had other things to attend to, so it almost sounded like she kind of like sent him to timeout because he was being a mean guy.
Well, we see him next singing to this dragon, which I don't quite understand. Like, what's the point? Like, again, the show might be changing things, but as far as we know, you can't bond with 2 dragons. You can only really have one.
So everything I've seen is people like, how is he gonna ride that dragon? Like, what happens to him in Caraxes? And everyone's been like, no, he'll ride Caraxes. And I just stopped listening because I don't want to be spoiled.
Well, he says like we have 13v3 for the dragons, so that like the thought is get people to ride these dragons, but like who are you going to get to ride these dragons? We know of, like you said, we know of Rhaenys. Is it Rhaena? Right, Daemon's daughter is the one person who basically needs a dragon, doesn't have one. So like maybe I can see him like maybe going and being like, hey, I know you haven't been ridden in like 30 years since the old king died, but let's make sure you're still chill, and maybe I'll send my daughter in next week type thing. Like trying to make sure the dragon is chill and accustomed to people before he sends his daughter in is the only thing I could think.
So it's pretty like this dragon looks badass.
Yeah, pretty sweet. The Bronze Fury is I think this one's nickname.
And that's what's his name again?
Vermithor.
I mean, so you have, let's just go through who could possibly do it. They have 2 kids already, right? Aegon and Viserys.
Yep.
Young Aegon and Viserys. So do they have, and they have eggs too, like, but we're not at the time for eggs. We're at the time for, we need dragon, we need flyers, we need fighters.
Those kids are young though.
I know they are, but I'm assuming this war is going to take a long time. So I'm assuming by the end of it, they're going to be involved.
Again, this is where, like, if they would have followed the show timeline a little better, those kids are 9 and 7, which are Bran.
You're saying the book timeline.
Book timeline. Those kids are 9 and 7 now, which is Bran and Arya age.
Which
these kids are like 3 and 2 in the show though, which is like doing Rickon age, like doing nothing.
Yeah.
If you make these kids Bran and Arya age, you can have them maybe not. I don't know who's sending their kid alone on a dragon at 9, but defending the house or something.
So I actually thought on the walk through the bottom and you hear the singing, I thought that was like the dragon keeper singing, not Daemon. Like Daemon was going to check on the eggs, and I really thought we were about to see an egg hatch. Yeah,
that'd have been dope.
Because I mean, we were told, right, we're gonna see how eggs are hatched.
I think people were hoping for that, but I don't know if we ever told that. But
okay, so he sings to this dragon. This dragon gives a good look into the eye of Daemon. So and then you see Daemon's eye back. Like maybe it's just like if I stare, it's like Harry Potter. If I give you a good enough stare to the Hippogriff and bow, maybe you'll be cool.
Yeah, don't look away type thing. Yeah,
don't look away. So whatever. I guess we're not going to get that answer till next time. I mean, you probably know a little bit of what's going to happen with these dragons. So.
I know what happens with some of the dragons, but there's no Daemon sings to anything in the book.
Sure.
So.
I guess they just want to show a cool ass dragon scene.
Yeah.
So Luke and Arax arrive to. I had a little bit problem with Storm's End.
I kind of thought it was sick. The tower in the middle, I think, is a little bit too tall. Like it doesn't make sense to have a tower that big when you're like.
Where was the donut? Coast. I don't see the donut.
And yeah, that's the other thing is like theoretically the wall on the seaward front I think is supposed to be like 80 feet thick or something, and I was looking for that and didn't see it. In general,
it's just a tower in the middle of the sea.
There's walls around it. There's walls around it.
This isn't the Storm's End that I know.
the walls should be really thick, like super, super thick on the seaward front. It looks like they kind of just build it up on a cliff, so the cliff is towards the ocean, which doesn't make sense.
I
But
don't.
I thought it was cool. Well, actually seeing Storm's End for the first time, I was actually like one of my most excited. Looking back on it, it doesn't really make sense, but I thought it was pretty cool.
I wanted to see this big. I'm fine with the tall deal, right?
They have that. They have a big center tower.
I see the center tower. I needed to see some thick ass big
Yeah.
outer walls that
Yeah.
were like little waves could be like smashing up on like way down low. I saw no outer wall. I saw no
Yeah.
donut wall, and I was like, I don't know. I thought
Yeah,
you were going to be more upset about it because
I liked it just because maybe we've never seen Storm's End like that before. I was
Yeah.
actually thinking back, like in the scene from the show where Davos is rowing Melisandre in, do we get a far shot of Storm's End? And the only other time I think we would is when Stannis is meeting with Catelyn out in the field. Stannis, Renly, and Catelyn.
you see Storm's End from far.
I don't know if we do in the show, and I don't think so. In the books, that takes place within view of Storm's End.
Yeah, I don't
think
recall
we do in
either.
the books.
So Luke lands and he starts walking up, looks super little, and he looks off, and oh my god,
So sick.
does Vagar have a hanging chin just because he's old as shit, or is he
Yeah,
just
it's
like that dragon?
It's like a grandpa who's got the saggy skin under
Yeah,
his
I don't
grandma,
care
I
too
guess.
much for his double chin.
I don't know. I didn't like it in the trailer. When I saw it in the trailer, you only see a quick shot of him.
I mean,
in,
it's like a turkey gobbler. Like, what's
Exactly.
he doing there?
But I think it shows that he's like old and slow and big and
He is not slow.
yeah, it's true. He's not slow. Well, in the books, they explained how if it was clear skies,
I read-
Arax would have zipped out.
Yeah,
but
I read that part.
Vagar he's just bigger and the weather doesn't affect him because he's a fucking tank.
I saw so many memes where it was like Luke looking over and it's just Vagar off in the distance. And like, I'm about to send that Raven. Like, just like, I would have got the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Like, and he walks, give him credit, he walks right into it. Got to know that Aemon's in there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Did you think about that? Like when you saw Vagar, you're like, oh fuck.
No, I knew. Like I said, I saw a picture of Luke and Aemon in a room together. But I mean, obviously, why would Vagar be there? Vagar wouldn't just be at Storm's End on his own.
So it's cool. Even in the books, they say that Vagar is the first one to notice the arrival. It's even before Arax lands. I think actually in the books that Vagar like roars really loud and scares all the guardsmen on the walls.
So Luke walks in. Aemon is there with one of the Baratheon daughters, which you said her name was Maris.
So there's 4 daughters, and in the books, all we know is Maris isn't the one that he's supposed to pick one of the 4, and Maris isn't the one he picks. And the only reason we know this is in the books, like I kind of wanted to do this because again, this is not what the book says about the actual battle is what makes me think that Aemon did it on purpose, because we don't really see it. They're just like, oh, there was fire bolts in the sky from far away.
Yeah.
But before he goes out, Maris. So again, a lot of the dialogue in this scene was taken straight from the books, which I think is great.
I mean, how about your favorite house just being a shit house?
So awesome.
No, they have no integrity. They have no honor.
You can't read.
He can't read, and he has no integrity. He's basically like, screw my oath. Like, I only care about what you can give me. Yeah. He has no integrity. Maybe you have no integrity.
I have the most integrity.
Well, then you shouldn't be a fan of this scene. This guy is basically like, what do you have to give me? Like, why should I be on your side? He's in no way is he like, I should be on your side because it's the right thing, and she was the heir. He's like, what does she have to offer me? Dude's a punk. Boros is the worst.
The one thing that's not, I'll read part of the quote that's not in the books or not in the show that they bring up in the books. And this is what Boros says to Luke. I, Princess Rhaenys, is kin to me and mine. Some great aunt I never knew was married to her father, but both of them are dead. And Rhaenyra, she's not Rhaenys, is she? He had nothing against women, Lord Boros went on to say. He loved his girls. A daughter is a precious thing. But a son, should the gods ever grant him a son of his own blood, Storm's End would pass to him, not his sisters. So this is something that they haven't, and again, they've talked to it. Like Rhaenys has talked to Rhaenyra about it, but we've really never seen any lords take a firm stance on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've never seen anyone take an anti-Rhaenyra stance because she's a girl, which is like a thing that everyone has a problem with in the books. And it's basically like, are we more okay with tradition or are we more okay with our word and the honor?
Mm-hmm.
And I think those things kind of even out at some point. Is how most of the lords see it.
Sure.
Sure, you can say no
Fine.
integrity, but I think that's a bigger thing that they focus on in the books.
Well, in the show, they don't even really care about tradition. They care about what's the better dowry package, basically.
Yeah.
Like who gets to marry one of my daughters is all he really cares about.
Also funny he can't read. He has to call his maester to read
great.
the letter.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you should just be an idiot. Like, what are they doing? What are the Baratheons doing? You should be embarrassed to be a fan of the Baratheons after last night.
I love the Baratheons. Especially you might have read the quote I said, but listen to what the daughter says, right? So the scene ends with the quote I'm going to read, but in the books it goes on for a little bit. At that, Lord Boros grew uneasy. Not here, he grumbled. He came as an envoy. I want no bloodshed beneath my roof. So his guards put themselves between the princelings and escorted Lucerys Valerian from the round hall back to the castle yard with his dragon. Arax was hunched down in the rain, awaiting his return. And there it might have ended, but for the girl Maris, the second-born daughter of Lord Boros. Less calmly than her sisters, she was angry with Aemon for preferring them to her. Was it one of your eyes he took, or one of your balls? Maris asked the prince in tones sweet as honey. I'm so glad you chose my sisters. I want a husband with all his parts.
Dude, that's dope. They definitely should have said that.
Aemon Targaryen's mouth twisted in rage, and he turned once more to Lord Boros, asking for his leave. The Lord of Storms then shrugged and answered, It is not for me to tell you what to do when you are not beneath my roof. And his knights moved aside as Prince Aemon rushed to the doors.
Dude, all right. I
see why they took it out, because they wanted Aemon to seem like I didn't try and do it.
Sure.
I think if you leave that in, it's very obvious that Aemon was trying to kill Luke, not trying to fuck with him.
Yeah. So let's just quickly get through the parts that we see so that we can get into the meat of the scene, because we've gone for a little bit. So Luke gives a spiel. Aemon's like just kind of standing there curtly. Luke's like, all right, I lost. I'm about to go away and take it back to my mom. And Aemon's like, wait, you owe me a debt. Takes off his eye patch, dude. I thought, he should not be wearing an eye patch. It looks so much cooler.
Badass.
What the fuck is he doing wearing that eye patch?
And I always thought this would be badass, and I didn't think they were actually going to do this in the show because we never really saw it in any of the earlier trailers. We see it in the trailer for episode 10, which I one of the things that I wish I didn't see in the trailer, because it would have been badass to be surprised by that.
Yeah.
And in the books, I thought this was badass. In the show, I kind of wish it was a purple gem, like an amethyst or something, just to be like the Targaryen purple eyes. Because again, like one of his big things is we're Targaryens, you're Strongs. I think it would be cool if like he even used the gem to reflect that he's more Targaryen than them. But again, still badass, super, super, super cool.
He calls him Prince Strong here, which was just funny.
Yep.
But the eye is awesome. Like if I was Luke, I'd be like, all right, like how bad did that hurt? Like, do you have a cool gem for me too? Because you look pretty badass right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But they kind of are gonna fight. Boros is like not here, and then Luke just leaves calmly. Luke sees that Vhagar is so like Aemon must have ran pretty fast because he beat him to Vhagar. Aemon ran to Vhagar before Luke got to Arax.
How do you know that? Did he look and didn't see him?
He looked and Vhagar's not where he was.
Okay.
And then he starts flying away. He's like kind of like looking around. It's also a storm.
He's trying to just go up above the clouds.
Dude, how about and then the shadow scene? Like, I mean, that's been played cinematically a lot, I feel like. So Avatar, cool. You get kind of that like bigger one over top of, do you know what I'm talking about in Avatar?
The bird thing.
The huge bird dragon is over top of the little one, and they have to get chased. I feel like
you see that in like underwater movies too. Like maybe in like Finding Nemo, there's like a little fish with like a huge shadow in the back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
it's the whale maybe, or one of the
there's something.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's badass. Vhagar is so much bigger. They say 5 times bigger in the books. I think it's got to be bigger than that.
It was like 30 times bigger.
It's so much bigger.
So then they kind of flying through. You can see that Aemon's kind of jokingly like snapping at its heels.
Again, I didn't take it as jokingly until the end, but I could see on the second
watch.
Well,
he's like laughing. He's like laughing. I mean, he's just having a blast. Like he looks like he's just trying to scare him, right?
And again, in the hall, without the scenes from the books of the girl calling him out, in the hall, he said like, "I don't want to fight you. All you owe
I just want your eye." And he says it in the air too. Like he might just be like, "All right, like I'm going to catch you, cut your eye out, and then send you home." Like that maybe have been his deal. He flies Arax down through the canyon, gives a little canyon run,
X-wing style.
A little X-wing style. I thought for a second, I was like, all right, shit, maybe Luke's gonna get away here. He's like, it's cloudy, he can't really see,
Yeah.
and then boom, he just flies out of the canyon right back next to him. I was
Well,
like,
that's when he
okay.
that's when Arax, I think, when Luke loses control of Arax and Arax blows fire on him.
Yeah,
Right, and I didn't catch this the first time, but when Arax blows fire,
he says no,
he says
Arax,
no,
listen to
Arax,
me.
no. Yeah, like he's just
Yeah,
trying to get away, but Arax is like, no, fuck this dragon.
serve me or whatever he says.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arax blows smoke, and it's kind of like that meme, like you fuck around, you're gonna find out.
Yeah, that chart.
That's I've
It's
seen
so
that. And Vagar just comes out of nowhere.
Aemon loses control of Vagar. He's
Yeah,
like,
like
no,
he's like,
no,
no,
no.
no, 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 no.
Another
Chomp.
thing that doesn't, yeah, I have kind of a hard time understanding is Dany never once seems to lose control of
Yes, she,
in the show. In the show, does she really lose control of Drogon ever?
I mean,
In the
she
books,
doesn't
for sure.
have. I mean, when Drogon saves her from the dragon pit and then they
Okay,
fly off, she has no control to get Drogon to fly her back.
okay. I guess that's the same thing. That's the same thing I'm thinking of in the books, I guess.
And when they're eating that goat, really just because I just saw a video about this, Drogon and the other two are fighting over that goat that they like. They're not as big at this point.
Yeah,
She
she's
like
sitting on the
just goes
rock.
from like petting Drogon to
Yeah,
them eating at the goat, and she like tries
Jorah's
to
like
tell
they're not
Drogon to
pets.
stop, and then
Yeah,
Drogon like turns and like, I'm gonna eat you next, bitch.
yeah.
And so
I just like these kids have been trained with dragon riders and they know
yeah,
all the commands and their
sure,
dragons are still going AWOL on them.
yeah.
And Danny is
Again, it
just
just
like
serves back
not
to the
having
point.
problems.
Yeah, sure,
Maybe
sure,
dragons act up around other dragons too, though. Like that might be part of it. But
right,
yeah, so they do the battle. Luke comes up from the above the clouds, and Vagar fucking jaws him. Just one bite,
dude, and
dragons in three
half.
pieces.
Oh
Yeah,
my god, gone. Like there, and so the book gave 3 options, right?
yeah.
Go ahead and read it.
Mushroom claims Aemon Targaryen found Luke's body and cut out his eyes and presented them to Maris, who's the girl who talks shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
That's
oh, there
funny.
you go. Yeah. Then some say Vagar ate Lucerys whole, which is kind of what it seems happened in the show.
Yeah.
And the third one some say Lucerys Valerian survived the fall but lost his memory and spent the rest of his days as a simple
I
fisherman.
mean, there's just no chance that happens unless he's 200-year-old patch face.
It kind of makes me wonder: did they give that option to Laenor? That's kind of what happens with Laenor. He doesn't lose his memory, but he kind of just lives his life as a fisherman. Or we don't know what he does, but
Nah,
it's kind of similar.
Luke's dead.
I think Luke's dead.
Luke got gobbled.
Yeah.
So the big part is, I think, of this is that Aemond, the oh shit moment, like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Storm's End again. Then you can see it when he flies off. It's definitely not no donut. There's no donut wall.
Okay.
I don't like it unless it's super far away from the center tower that you can't even see it. But he's basically like, oh shit, I just started the war. Like that comes plainly across his face.
Yeah. Again, I think a lot of people, I've seen a lot of the fans of the book say that, like, there's a lot of, I think I said last episode, there's 2 big events that people are wondering where they were going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the last episode, I said I think it's going to do the first big event and not the second. And this was the first big one. So this is the first big event. They're definitely going to start the next season with a big event.
Interesting.
But, yeah, so it's going to be dangerous. I feel like most people are going to have to be spoiled on it by the time season 2. Maybe not right now, but by the time like there's hype for season 2 and stuff, trailers coming out, I feel like there's gonna be some spoilers for it. But
so I'm thinking it's gotta be. It's gonna be something revengeful. So I'll just throw that out there. But I don't. You don't need to go any further into it.
Well, I'll say that the debate was like, it doesn't make the reason why a lot of people, me included, thought they would do them both this season because it doesn't. We've never really seen a Game of Thrones episode season start off with a huge event. I guess the closest thing would be the Arya killing all the Freys. I think that's a season opener, right? That was why I thought they'd both be in this season because it's just kind of weird to start off the next season with like a big event. But a lot of people thought no, they'll put that one in the next season to make so that season already has something going for it right off the bat. And the whole point of where they want the season to end is the point of no return. It's kind of like how people are treating the Storm's End thing. Like there's no way, like even in this whole episode up till that, Rhaenyra is trying to be like, we're not going to fight. Yes, we want allies, but we're going to hope that this thing can be worked out somehow. It's kind of, it seems like where Rhaenyra's at until the end, like the last scene right after. The only thing we get after Storm's End is her getting news and then her face like going evil.
Right. She's super mad. She's mad queen. So Aemond, I saw just a little bit of like, obviously now he can either be like, it was an accident, Vagar did it, or I meant to do it, fuck those people, like, let's go.
Either one seems bad, right? Because you're either saying I can't control my crazy ass most dangerous dragon in the world,
Right.
or I'm a hothead who does whatever the fuck I want.
And I just, which we've already seen him be a hothead in the dinner. Now, the people haven't seen that, but like, how quickly does this spread?
Yeah.
The news of Luke dying because of this battle in the sky, and what kind of rumors are now going to be said about Aemon being a kinslayer, being yada yada yada.
Yep.
The bad omen that it is to be a kinslayer. Does he lose favor? Do the Greens start to lose some favor with more people after the killing of Prince Luke? I don't know. Interested to see. Dude, Vagar chewed him up. Like, he, like, disintegrated. His jaws are that strong.
In the books, they say only a neck and wing washed ashore, I think. Like, he gets fucked up. But yeah, we've been going a while. I don't really feel like I can say too much without spoiling. I feel like you got some good takes in. Anything else to say?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, only a 2-year wait now.
Team Black, baby. Let's go. Burn him to the ground.
I'm Team Sapphire Eye.
Dude, it's the coolest. I mean, that's cool as shit.
Yeah, let us know what you guys thought in the comments. Tune in if you guys need Game of Thrones to fill you over for the next 2 years. I got a great podcast recommendation for you if you want to start reading the main series. But yeah, if not, we'll see you guys in 2 years when we're back for the House of Dragon Season 2 podcast. Adios.
Bye.